Walt Whitman's poem, "O Captain My Captain," is one of the most famous poems in American literature. It was written in 1865 as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The poem expresses both joy and sorrow. It celebrates the end of the American Civil War, but it also mourns the tragic death of Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated shortly after the war ended. The poem is written in the form of an elegy. An elegy is a type of poem that expresses sadness for someone who has died. The poem uses the metaphor of a ship and its captain to describe the war and Lincoln's leadership. The captain represents Lincoln, the ship represents the United States, and the fearful trip represents the Civil War. This video covers the explanation and analysis of "O Captain My Captain" by Walt Whitman. Explanation of "O Captain My Captain" by Walt Whitman. "O Captain My Captain, our fearful trip is done." The poem begins with the speaker addressing the captain. The phrase, "O Captain My Captain," is repeated. It shows strong emotion and deep respect. The speaker is calling out to the captain. It shows that he feels a close connection with him. The captain in this poem represents Abraham Lincoln. The speaker is someone who admires and respects the captain, just as many people in the United States admired and respected Lincoln. The phrase, "Our fearful trip is done," means that a difficult and dangerous journey has ended. The word of fearful means full of fear, danger, and difficulty. It refers to the American Civil War. The American Civil War was a violent and deadly conflict that lasted from 1861 to 1865. During this time, many people died, and the country was deeply divided. The poet is saying that this terrible period is finally over. The war has ended, and the nation can now move forward. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. In this line, the word "ship" is a metaphor for the United States. A metaphor is when one thing is compared to another without using like or as. The poet is comparing the country to a ship that has gone through a difficult journey. The phrase, "weathered every rack," means that the ship has survived every storm. Weathered means to endure or survive something difficult, and a rack refers to a storm or a great challenge. This means that the country has faced many struggles and hardships but has survived them all. The United States has made it through the difficult times of the war. The prize we sought is won means that the goal of the journey has been achieved. The prize refers to victory in the Civil War. The Union, the northern states, fought against the Confederacy, the southern states, to keep the country united and to end slavery. Since the Union won the war, the country has remained united, and slavery has been abolished. This victory is the prize that the poet is talking about. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting. A port is a place where ships dock safely after a long journey. The port represents the end of the war and the return to peace. The poet is saying that the ship, the country, is about to reach safety. The bells I hear refers to the sound of celebration. Bells are often rung to announce important events, such as the end of a war. People ring bells to express happiness and joy. This shows that the people are celebrating because the war has ended. The phrase, "the people all exulting," means that the people are feeling great joy and excitement. The word exulting means celebrating with extreme happiness. The people are happy because their country has survived, and they no longer have to live in fear and conflict. While follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. The phrase "a follow eyes" means that people are watching closely. Steady keel refers to the main structure of the ship that helps it stay balanced in the water. This means that people are watching the ship, the country, as it moves forward after the war. The word "vessel" is another word for a ship. The phrase "a grim and daring" means serious and brave. This suggests that the ship, the country, has gone through a serious and dangerous journey but has remained brave. The people admire the ship for its strength and courage, just as they admire the country for surviving the war. But oh heart, heart, heart. The poet repeats the word "heart" 3 times. This repetition shows deep sorrow and pain. The speaker is feeling intense grief. Something tragic has happened. Oh, the bleeding drops of red. The bleeding drops of red refer to blood. The poet is describing a tragic scene where someone is hurt and bleeding. This line prepares the reader for the sad news that follows. Where on the deck my captain lies. The deck is the flat surface of the ship. The poet tells us that the captain is lying on the deck. This suggests that something terrible has happened to him. He is not standing or celebrating with the people, instead, he is lying down, unable to move. Fallen cold and dead. These words reveal the sad truth: the captain has died. Cold and dead emphasizes the speaker's grief. Even though the war is over and the country has been saved, the leader who guided the country through the war is no longer alive. "O captain, my captain, rise up and hear the bells." The stanza begins with the speaker calling out to the captain. The speaker is addressing the captain with great emotion and urgency. The exclamation marks show strong feelings of grief and desperation. The speaker wants the captain to wake up and listen to the bells. In this case, bells symbolize the victory of the war. However, the captain, who represents Abraham Lincoln, is unable to hear them. The speaker refuses to accept the reality of the captain's death. He is in denial and still hopes that the captain can rise. "Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills." The speaker urges the captain to rise. He emphasizes that all the celebrations are in the captain's honor. The phrase, "for you the flag is flung," means that the national flag is being waved to honor the captain. The American flag is a symbol of victory, freedom, and unity. The phrase, "for you the bugle trills," refers to the sound of a bugle. A bugle is a brass instrument used in military ceremonies. The bugle's sound is often associated with military honors and respect. The people are playing the bugle to celebrate the captain's success, but the captain is not able to hear it. "For you bouquets and ribboned wreaths, for you the shores a crowding." Bouquets are bunches of flowers, and ribboned wreaths are circular arrangements of flowers and ribbons. These are often used to honor someone in celebrations or memorials. The people have prepared these flowers to celebrate the captain's achievements. The phrase, "for you the shores a crowding," means that large crowds of people have gathered on the shores. They are eagerly waiting to see the captain and express their joy and gratitude. However, the captain is unable to see or acknowledge their celebration. "For you they call, the swaying mass, their eager faces turning." The phrase, "the swaying mass," refers to the large crowd of people moving together. They are full of excitement and emotion. Their eager faces turning means that everyone is looking in the direction of the captain. They want to see him, cheer for him, and celebrate his success. However, the captain remains silent and motionless. The people are expecting their leader to acknowledge them, but he does not respond because he has passed away. "Hear, captain, dear father." The speaker calls out to the captain again, but this time, he refers to him as a dear father. This does not mean that the captain is literally his father. Instead, it is a term of respect and affection. Abraham Lincoln was often seen as a father figure to the nation because he guided the country through the Civil War and made great sacrifices for its people. The speaker is showing deep love and admiration for the captain. "This arm beneath your head." The speaker places his arm under the captain's head. This action shows care and tenderness. When someone is injured or dying, people often hold or support them to provide comfort. The speaker is treating the captain with great respect and kindness, as one would do for a loved one in their final moments. It is some dream that on the deck. The speaker refuses to believe that the captain is dead. He wishes that this is just a dream. He is struggling to accept the painful reality. When people experience deep grief, they sometimes feel like the event is not real. This line expresses the speaker's shock and denial. He is hoping that he will wake up from this terrible situation and find that the captain is still alive. "You've fallen cold and dead." This is one of the most powerful lines in the poem. The phrase, "fallen cold and dead," is repeated throughout the poem to emphasize the finality of death. Fallen means that the captain has collapsed, cold means that his body has no warmth, and dead confirms that he is no longer alive. The repetition of these words makes the loss feel even more heartbreaking. Despite the celebration around him, the speaker feels only sorrow because his leader is gone. My captain does not answer, his lips are pale and still. In this line, the speaker is expressing deep sadness. He calls out to the captain, but the captain does not respond. This is because the captain is dead. The phrase, "his lips are pale and still," means that there is no life left in him. When a person dies, their skin loses its color, and their lips become pale. The word "still" means that there is no movement. This shows that the captain is lifeless. The speaker had hoped that the captain would wake up, but now he realizes that he will never wake up again. In the context of the poem, the captain represents Abraham Lincoln. The speaker's grief reflects the sorrow of the entire nation. The people of the United States were in shock and mourning after Lincoln was assassinated. They had just won the Civil War, and the country was supposed to celebrate, but instead, they lost their great leader. My father does not feel my arm, he has no pulse nor will. The speaker calls the captain my father. It is a way of showing deep love and respect. Abraham Lincoln was often called the father of the nation because he played a crucial role in keeping the country together. The phrase, "does not feel my arm," suggests that the speaker is touching or holding the captain, hoping to get a response, but there is no response. The words, "no pulse nor will," are very important. Pulse refers to the beating of the heart. When a person is alive, their heart pumps blood, which creates a pulse. But the captain has no pulse, which means his heart has stopped beating. The word "will" means desire or ability to act. The captain has no will because he is no longer alive. This line emphasizes that the captain is truly gone, and there is nothing that can bring him back. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. The poet shifts the focus from the dead captain to the ship. The ship is a metaphor for the United States. Anchored means that the ship has stopped moving and is now safely in the harbor. This symbolizes that the country has reached safety after the long and difficult journey of the Civil War. The war is over, and the nation has survived. The phrase "safe and sound" means that there is no more danger. Voyage closed and done means that the journey has ended completely. The war is finished, and the nation has successfully achieved its goal of unity and the abolition of slavery. However, despite this success, the captain is no longer there to celebrate. This reflects the real situation after the Civil War. The country had won the war, but Abraham Lincoln did not live to see the results of his hard work. From "fearful trip," the victor ship comes in with object one. This line continues the ship metaphor. The phrase "a fearful trip" again refers to the Civil War, which was full of violence, suffering, and danger. The word "a victor" means winner, so a victor ship means the victorious ship. This means that the country has won the war. The phrase "comes in with object one" means that the ship has successfully completed its mission. The object refers to the goal of the war, which was to preserve the Union and end slavery. The ship has returned home after a dangerous journey, just as the United States has survived the Civil War. Even though the goal has been achieved, the poem reminds us that there is still a great loss. The captain, Abraham Lincoln, is not there to celebrate this victory. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells. In this line, the poet calls for celebration. Exult means to rejoice or feel extreme happiness. The poet asks the shores to exult. It means that he is addressing the people of the country and tells them to celebrate. Ring, O bells means that bells should ring loudly. This is because the war is over and the country is safe. However, even though there is a call for celebration, the speaker himself does not feel like celebrating. But I with mournful tread, walk the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. The word, but, shows contrast. While everyone else is celebrating, the speaker feels sadness. The phrase "a mournful tread" means walking in a sorrowful manner. Tread means to step or walk, and mournful means full of grief. This shows that the speaker is walking slowly and sadly. The phrase "walk the deck my captain lies" tells us that the speaker is still on the ship, standing near the dead captain. This shows that he cannot join in the celebration because he is too heartbroken. The final phrase, "fallen cold and dead," is repeated for the third time in the poem. This repetition emphasizes the deep sorrow of the speaker. It reminds the reader that even though the war is won, the loss of the captain is a tragedy that cannot be ignored. Analysis of "O Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman. The poem consists of 3 stanzas, and each stanza follows a similar structure. The speaker represents the American people. He first celebrates the victory and safe arrival of the ship. Then, he expresses his shock and grief at the captain's death. Finally, he acknowledges the painful reality that his beloved leader is gone forever. In the first stanza, the speaker declares that the American Civil War is over, but the leader who guided them through the journey did not live to see the final success. In the second stanza, the speaker refuses to accept that the captain is dead. He calls out to him and urges him to rise up and hear the bells. In the final stanza, the speaker faces the truth. He acknowledges that his captain does not respond, his lips are pale, and he has no pulse. One of the most important literary devices in the poem is the extended metaphor. An extended metaphor is a comparison that continues throughout a literary work. In this poem, the ship represents the United States, the captain represents Abraham Lincoln, and the fearful trip represents the Civil War. By using this metaphor, Whitman conveys the idea that Lincoln was the leader who guided the country through a dangerous and difficult journey. Although the ship reached safety, the leader did not survive to enjoy the victory. Another important literary device in the poem is repetition. Words and phrases like "heart, heart, heart" and "fallen cold and dead" are repeated to emphasize the speaker's grief and emotional pain. The poem also uses imagery, which means descriptions that appeal to the senses. For example, the speaker describes the bleeding drops of red, the pale and still lips, and the ringing bells. These images help the reader visualize the scene and feel the contrast between celebration and mourning. The tone of the poem shifts between triumph and sorrow. In the beginning, there is a sense of relief and victory as the ship reaches its destination. However, this quickly changes to shock and sadness when the captain is revealed to be dead. This shifting tone reflects the emotions that many Americans felt when Lincoln was assassinated. They were joyful about the end of the war but heartbroken over the loss of their leader. The poem also explores themes such as leadership, sacrifice, and mourning. Lincoln's leadership saved the country. However, he did not live to see the peace he worked so hard to achieve. His sacrifice is deeply felt by those who loved and respected him. The poem captures the sorrow of losing a great leader and the difficulty of moving forward after such a loss. Thank you for watching. I hope this video on explanation and analysis of "O Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman has helped you in understanding the poem.